I'm Zoe, and in today's belly dance breakdown video, we're going to be learning a fun traveling move that you can call a half turn hip bump. I don't think it really has a name, but that's a good description of what it is. So let's get started. So the first thing that we want to do this move is our hip bump. So let's just practice that. What you're going to do is just step on one foot, so you can see a little better, step, and you're going to push the other hip up and forwards with a touch. So your feet are doing step, touch, step, touch, step, touch. And with each touch, I'm going to use my obliques, my glutes, and even the front of the hip muscles to help pull the hip up. Yeah, up and out. So it's on a diagonal. You want to think of pushing your hip up and forwards at the same time. So push, push. So really squeezing the glute can help for sure to get some power, but you also want to be squeezing these muscles all around this area to help bring that hip up. And your knee is straightening a little bit, but this movement, I do not drive it from the knee. I really am driving it more from those abdominal muscles. So again, step, bump, step, bump, step, bump, step, bump. We want it to be nice and sharp. Using the glutes definitely helps. Make it sharp, give it some power. Bump, step, 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 bump. By the way, this is a movement you can also just do in place. Without the little half turn, you could do it more to the side. That's going to be using slightly different muscles here, but still the same idea. Or even to the back is also fun. So there's all sorts of hip bumps that you can do, but for this one, we want it to be kind of side and forward, so diagonal. So please practice that. If you feel like you need a little more practice, we're going to go on and layer that onto the feet. So the feet, like I said, are going to be doing sort of half turns. Yeah? So what happens is we're going to step forward, and then as I do the bump, I'm going to be turning to the profile. So bump. So the bump is going to be kind of almost towards, let's say the audience is here. So it's almost on the side, just a little bit forwards, yeah? So, and my body is facing profile. Upper body can be facing more front, yeah? Because when you're dancing, you usually want to keep contact with your audience. But the lower body and the feet especially, as you can see, are facing the side. So I do the bump, then I'm going to step on that foot in place, keeping that foot in pretty much the same place that I just bumped on, and I'm going to do a half turn around to face the other side and do my bump. Again, it's a bit forwards and side on the diagonal. And then we're just going to repeat that. So then I step, I do another half turn, bump, step, bump, step, and bump. Again, I show that from the back, coming from the back. So the first step is probably only going to be a quarter turn. If you're starting from facing the front, I step, turn to the side, bump. Step, now a full half turn, bump. Step, bump, step, bump. Step, bump, step, bump, step, bump, step, and bump. You want to also try to keep your focus forwards as you do this. Spotting, I talk about spotting in the video on cross turns. That's a good introduction to it. The idea is that you always want to be picking a spot in front of you and keeping your focus on that spot. So when we turn, I'm not spending any time looking at the back or at the wall to the side or whatever is to the side of me. I'm keeping my focus always front. Step, 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 and step, and step, and bump, and bump, and bump. Keeping the focus forwards. And finally, let's add arms. So the arms for this are going to be pretty simple. The arms I like to do, because this is I see it as a fairly strong movement, so I like to have strong arms. We're going to have one hand at the head and one hand on our hip. Fingers are long when I do this. Thumb is a bit in. You can see, yeah? And we're just going to be switching from one side to the other, traveling through the middle and coming to either up or down, depending on where we were before. This is just the transition. So these are the arms. And we're going to, we always want to have the back arm be the one that's up, because if my front arm is up, I'm blocking my face. Nobody can see me. So always the back arm is the one that's up. So step, bump, and now step. Here's the transition. Bump, step, 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 bump. So you can almost do this in place, but I like to travel with it to come forwards because, again, it makes it look a bit stronger. So one more time. We can try that even on the other side. That might be a little more difficult to switch from one side to the other. So I'm going to start on my other foot this time. Step, bump, step, bump, step, bump. So now I'm turning in the opposite direction. Step, bump, step, bump, step, bump. So feel free to go over that a little more and then come back and let's try that with some music. So that was the half turn hip bump movement. I hope you had fun with it. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel to get more videos. Again, I'm trying to record a bit more as we are locked down right now and I can't give my regular classes. So yeah, if you have requests or questions or comments, I would definitely love to hear from you. So thank you again for watching and happy practicing.